Hey gang, good morning. I've been playing a lot of Once Human and I really want to address the elephant in the room, that's seasonal wipes. I'd like to break it down by maybe category, give a little bit of insight to each item, how I feel about it, as well as do they transfer or not. And is it a big deal? That's what we're going to find out. Let's dive right into it.
We are still waiting!
So there's a couple things that can happen at the end of a season when you transfer to the next. I would say the first is non-transferable. Those are things that you cannot bring with you either to your home away from home eternal land or to the next season. A lot of that's going to be seasonal items. Maybe it's things that are based upon memetics. The next thing is going to be full automatic transfers. So those things are going to automatically go to the new season. And the third thing is going to be your partially transferred items. So those are all going to go to Eternal Land for I'm not sure how long, but you get to make decisions using 20,000 dew droplets or whatever they're called to decide what do you want to take with you and why. If you've played Once Human before, you're completely aware of Deviants, but if not, I'll briefly explain. Deviants are your pets, so to say. You put them in isolation tanks and you can use their abilities for either taking care of things in your base, crafting special items, or fighting alongside of you. These can be selectively transferred using a portion of those 20,000 points I mentioned earlier, but here's kind of where the whole decision-making process comes into play. If you have a rare deviant, perhaps it's a higher level, you might want to bring that. If you don't want to kill 40 rabbits again to get the murder bunny, you might want to bring him. So it's all based upon your intent. So the next thing I want to talk about is your base. You might have spent a lot of time getting it exactly how you wanted, and yes, it does go away, for the seasonal wipe that is, and it does feel slightly bad. The good news is that you can create a blueprint which saves your base. This will be automatically brought with you to the new server, and you can build it off of your blueprint as you gain resources. Now, this seems like a non-issue to me because me personally, I saved my blueprint but opted to create a new house. I like to design new houses, have different ideas, and do things that might fit my intent for the season. For example, here's my newest base that I made on phase 2 of my new server. As you can see, I played off various parts of the terrain, so even if I did blueprint this, it would never work anywhere. But you know, fuck it, I'll just end up rebuilding it on the next one. It's part of the fun, at least for me anyway. Well, I think now's a good time to talk resources. So things such as logs, gravel, ores, acid, fuel, things like that. Each resource is specific to whatever item that you're trying to build or craft. I understand that it's frustrating to lose these, but they are partially transferable. The caveat here is that I would advise against doing that because you have a limited amount of dew points to transfer these things. And I also want to point out how the collections work. So let's look at some numbers. In Once Human, you can get something like 10 wood per swing on a tree or 4 ore per swing on a mining node. The amount of resources per swing is quite high, and there's also no shortage of resource nodes, and they do spawn quite frequently. You can also get better axes and drills that allow you to increase the quantity of resource per swing on both ore and wood. So once phase 2 hits, it's really easy to get everything you need, but acid's still a little tough to come by. This is very different from World of Warcraft. If anyone recalls, you would run a route to farm ore and get an average of 4 ore per node itself. That's not per swing. So it was really time consuming. In Once Human, the resources are abundant, respawn quickly, and the resource collection per swing is really high. So the desire to hoard stuff and bring them all, kind of a moot point for me. Ah yes, the dreaded leveling conversation. Yeah, your level does go back to 1. but it's really not important in the grand scheme of things because leveling is really fast in this game. I was level 50 2 days into phase 2, and I do play probably more than healthy. Anyone playing casually, by time phase 3 hits, you're going to be 50, I would say. I do want to mention that for quests, though, if you do the same scenario back to back, you can do a simplified version, which is really nice. So it lets you walk up to the quest location, hold the button, and it auto-completes for you. This is really fast, and it gives you plenty of rewards and XP. Luckily, I had joined my first season in phase 4 or 5, so leveling was really fast on my first season, and I was able to complete all of the quests. Going into my second season, since all my quests were simplified, it was really fast to just go and complete all the quests because I did mana bus back to back. So for me, this isn't a huge issue. It doesn't take months on months on months to grind to max level. It's not the same as other games. It's quite fast. And we're on to the cosmetics and currencies. So, the cosmetics that you pay for and share between seasons and characters alike. Starcrom and Mitsuku points are automatically transferred as well, and energy links are disposed of. So the next things I want to talk about are calibration blueprints. So calibration blueprints allow you to change the base specs on your weapon. So this might be more damage, crit, or elemental damage. This can also change your magazine capacity or reload time, for example. These can be selectively transferred, however, there's such a constant flow of dropped weapons that you're just throwing in the garbage bin. So farming those are really simple and it happens organically. I would say if you wanted to, bring in a couple mods just to support you through like your climb. But if they're a god tier calibration blueprint and they're perfect for you, then you know, bring it and save it until you have your level 50 weapon. So let's talk about mods. Mods are things that you can get by farming chests in high level areas, silos, or monoliths. These will give you a number of benefits. It might be a full reload of your magazine after 2 kills or different damage modifiers. So if it's the highest level of mod available, which is legendary, they have 4 separate modifiers on them that are tiers. The mod itself can be upgraded to level 5, giving you a random selection of upgrades per each enhancement. So out of the 4 items, it might only enhance the first one 4 times and then the 4th one. You don't really know, it's kind of random. But overall, these are all automatically transferring free of cost, so it's nothing that you necessarily have to worry about. If you put up with enough RNG to get your most ideal mod, you get to keep it. So let's talk about weapons blueprints and weapons.
Take a look at this.
Jesus Christ,
That
Charlie.
right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day. Okay?
So as I mentioned earlier, the dropped weapons, dime a dozen. I mean, they might have great stats or whatever, but you can't repair them. They are essentially worthless. The only equipment and weapons that matter are ones that you create using blueprints. The more you open mystic chests and play the wish machine, the more fragments you gain. At some point, you'll get full fragments for a single item and you can fuse that blueprint. Any fused blueprints will allow you to create the item, and this fused blueprint will never be removed from your character. They always transfer automatically free of cost to the next server. Now I will say that the weapons that you've created from those blueprints, you can transfer over using a portion of the 20,000 points, but it's an absolute fucking waste of your time. At the end of the day, you cannot craft or repair it until you're in phase 2. Each weapon has a tier that defines its specs. These tiers are tied to your level, so although tiers are 1 through 5, 5 being the highest, at the start of the server you can only use a tier 1 until you level up enough. Then you can create the next tier weapon and so on. So these weapons also have a damage stat multiplier, which are shown as stars. To get more stars on your blueprint, you have to take those fragments I mentioned for the blueprints and then fuse it, right? And that'll be the item that you're creating. Then what you can do is on the right side here, you can see the classifications or the types or the manufacturers or whatever you want to call them. You can spend the unfused blueprint fragments that you've gained for all of those and increase the stars on whatever blueprint you're looking at. So if the type is a Juggernaut and you have a Juggernaut mask you like to use and you happen to have Juggernaut pants, you can use the pants to increase the stars on your mask. Hopefully that's clear. So I guess the TLDR is you get to keep anything that's actually important, difficult to obtain, or you paid real life money for. And what you get to keep is either through automated transfers or selective transfers. I think if you have one takeaway on what you should or shouldn't do with your selective points, those 20,000 I mentioned, is that bring minimal things for the love of God. I transferred all 20,000 right off the fucking rip and I am full of regret. Transfer things as you need them, because you're not going to know what you need until you're in your new server. I hope this helped shed some light on the fundamental overall knowledge transfer on how this works. Out of all the YouTubers I watched, I was unable to fully grasp what transfers were and what they impacted and kind of best solutions until I went through it myself. If this helped you at all, please give me a like or subscribe. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. Tell me I'm a fucking bozo in the comments. Doesn't matter. You do whatever you want to do. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.